Wow. I am embracing my purpose with complete humbleness, and this isn't easy for me. Um, Not at all. You know, I've recently in the past week have had to. I've been. It's almost like I've been tested to see if I'm going to trust fully in this process that's happening, this reclaiming of my purpose here on this earth, and or am I going to allow these old programmings of shame and guilt and wanting to people please and just find acceptance. And I've had some very difficult conversations, whether it be verbal or through, text or email or whatever. And, in some very difficult times, where the old programming wants to take over and display this false identity of love. And by that, I mean what the old man considered love, like, being nice, um, beating around the bush and not getting to the gist of the issue, and just for the sake of not ruffling feathers or, hurting anyone. And I just have to keep on. I do, man, guys, the amount of self reflection and examination that I'm constantly doing throughout the day to make sure that I'm not pushing or forcing things on people, and that I'm just remaining in alignment in body, mind, and spirit, in thoughts, words, and actions. And it's not comfortable. It's very uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable, because I'm still getting used to this new way of being and embracing my purpose. And you know um coming from that rock foundation of, if it's not the truth, then it doesn't matter, it's bullshit. And that it hurts people, but it hurts the ego is the thing. And that's what I understand so clearly, because my journey in the past 4 years has been nothing short of humiliating. In my videos, if like I said, this week I've gone back, and because I'm trying to more in depth understand and embrace my actual journey and how I got to here, to where none of my outside circumstances have changed. I haven't even paid rent this month. What's today, the 16th? Um, but these things don't bother me at all, like, at all. And so my outside circumstances, I watched my videos from 4 years ago, my outside circumstances haven't changed. In fact, my financial situation is even, you know, less of an abundance than it was back then. And it's so weird. But I'm so fulfilled. I'm so happy. I'm so joyous. I'm so grateful. And it's like I have no equivocation about losing anything material, because I have embraced this gift of the present moment and of what life actually is. And so, with that deep understanding, and what it took to get here, and all the false identities and programs and indoctrinations I had to shed. And the hardest ones are the ones I'm at now, is the ones of, people pleasing and looking for acceptance, and trying to hold on to relationships, my last few like actual relationships with individuals, and like I can count them on one hand. And it's so humbling, man. It's so humbling to be at this apex and have to make that decision of, am I going to shut my mouth and play the games and do the niceties and do what I have to do to get along and be able to pay my rent and all this stupid shit? Or am I going to continue in my trust fall, my blind trust fall, and completely live my life one step at a time, knowing that I'm intuitively gifted and guided? And the only way I'm able to do that is because of the immense amount of healing that I've done. And because of that healing and because of that humiliation I had to go through in order to, allow this healing, and the grace I've had to give myself, I understand, like, when people talk to me, like, I'm telling you, my empathic abilities and sensitivities have gotten so fine-tuned that, and the ability to read energies, read minds, and read thoughts, and as soon as someone opens their mouth, know where they're coming from and what part of their ego and what part of their programming and what part of the walls that they built up. And it's an over, I don't, it's not overwhelming because I'm doing it. It's just a huge, huge, huge responsibility that I take so seriously, because this is what I spend my time day in and day out for 4 years doing, is concentrating and focusing solely on this journey and re-examining and making sure that, that old man is not popping his ego up and, trying to prove he's right and trying to prove this and trying to prove that. I'm literally having to rely on the knowing of my divinity and who I am, and knowing and seeing it in others, but buried under the trauma and unfaced trauma and abuse programs, indoctrination, cultural conditionings, and social norms, and all of that shit, to be able to break through all those dense energies and allow that light to shine, allow my light to shine brightly in the darkest of places for all to see, bringing hope, encouragement, and inspiration. And it's hard to comprehend that it's bringing hope, encouragement, and inspiration when you can literally feel these people breaking down. But again, it's egos, it's the ego. It's all coming from ego. And my purpose is, and the gift I have been given, is the ability to expose that false identity in other people. And I don't take it lightly. It's extremely, extremely, extremely humbling. And it comes from a full embracing of what love actually is. And it's so hard to relay that because, these people don't truly know what love is, because they associate love with being kind and being nice and just going along, and, well, you give a little and I'll give a little, and your truth and my truth and my beliefs and your beliefs. And it's like, no, I can't connect with people deeply that are holding on to that, because if I allow that to just permeate into the relationship and take its hold on the relationship, there goes authenticity. There goes truth. There goes every barrier I've broken down, every wall I've crushed, everything, all my humiliation that I went through to be able to be on this deeply in this path. I would have to give it up. And then I'm back in the false self, in a false meaning. And then how do I let that true light shine if I'm equivocating and bartering and my authenticity? Because I just see through the bullshit so clearly. And it's not, where would it be in my purpose to stroke other people's egos or go, oh, okay, it's okay, it's okay. And even though that's through that shame and guilt that I've felt my whole life, I don't want to hurt anybody. But I just, it's egos. And I just got to remind, that's a false sense of identity. That's a false self. And that this love, and people call it tough love, but I don't even like that, because it's not tough love, it's love. Truth is love. Truth is the foundation of love, and being authentic is the foundation of love. And I am still getting over the empathy I have, the wrong sense of empathy that I still am, clinging on to be able to fulfill my purpose. And man, I just want to let you guys know that I am so humbled just to be sitting here in front of this camera right now and knowing the grace that I had to give myself to make the changes necessary to fulfill my purpose in accordance with the divine will for my higher good and for the greater good of all. And again, for the greater good of all, not for the good of egos, not for the good of helping people hold on to their excuses and justifications, but to shine that light on those things. That way they have the opportunity to make the changes necessary to be on their path and embrace their purpose and wake up every morning grateful for the gift of life and allowing themselves to be in the present moment, because by being in the present moment, it's the only way that you're going to make the changes and make the decisions to be able to live in your purpose. And yeah, it's the most uncomfortable. It's the most uncomfortable thing in the world, when all you want is just to click your fingers and have everybody be able to fast forward and get through all this bullshit, And it's so weird to sit there and know, looking back, how absolutely unbelievably simple this is. This journey is so simple when you pull your hurt ego and emotions in false sense, and once you heal that inner child and embrace that inner child. And that's the thing, like, this literally takes a kindergarten mindset of, that's how simple it is. Like, we are so stuck in like this college level, gotta prove myself, gotta make sure all my T's are crossed and all my I's are this, and all my proofs are in line and all my receipts are on display. And it's like, man, that is stressful. That is so stressful. And it actually inhibits your journey. And it takes that humbleness and humility to recognize that that whole mindset is coming from these enslaved traumas and abuses and ingrained traumas and abuses that are part of the system that controls us. And it's literally the key to this whole thing is allowing and giving yourself the grace and to forgive yourself and make these changes. And it's that simple, because when you get this far, you realize as soon as any excuse or a justification pops in your head for something, that is something that you need to introspect deeply on and meditate on where the root of that is coming from, so that way you can shed it, you know? And it's just so simple, and it takes that childlike understanding, because that child is the authentic self. That child was born pure and innocent and whole. This world and these systems and these families, these false family systems, and everything else involved with it, is the one that broke that child down and tore him from his authentic self and made him build up these walls of the ego. And so it's so incredibly simple, but we just make it so difficult. And that's the thing, is if you can just get that foundation laid, and if you can do enough child work and actually realize who you are is that child, that innocent child, and embrace him and give him the time, energy, and attention that he or she needs in order to heal him, and then integrate that healed child back into alignment, and then pull that necessity of that programmed mind thinking that you got to prove, and you got to do this, and you got to get proofs, and you got to get validations, and you have to get this, and just realize that it's all an inner journey, and it's all about you. It's not about anybody else, or what any other system or any other religion or government or social structure or cultural norm dictates, because all of those things keep you so tightly identified with the false self and the ego. And man, it's something else, guys. It really is. It's something else. And I bear this with humbleness, but with fierce conviction in myself, because I've cleaned out my vessel. I've cleaned out my vessel to the point where if anything interferes with my purpose and with my true authenticity and what the truth actually is, it's immediately recognized, guys. I worked today for the first time. I did an 8-hour day today, an actual 8-hour straight day today in the sun. It was hot today, and for the first time muggy, and it was just like, I can't believe I used to force myself to do that 5, 6, sometimes 7 days. I'd pull, 2 weeks straight and burn out, 3 weeks straight, 4 weeks straight in the summertime, and then burn out, and then come down on myself and beat myself up for having to take 4 days off because I couldn't move, because I burn out. And, so I realized, like today I actually worked, and tomorrow I'll be doing the same working, but not as many hours. But so that way I can pay my rent this month. And I realize, okay, I'm still doing the physical things that I have to do. And it's only because I still have a child that, who's 17, that I am responsible for. And I sort of need a fucking house for him to come and sit in. And he works with me. So I'm bearing that responsibility. So I have to balance that full willingness to jump into my purpose, just get rid of all this stuff, this responsibility of having all this material stuff and having to work and take this time away from this inner work and from this alignment. And what I'm having to do, it's just strengthening me, because I'm being forced to figure out how to keep in alignment when I'm working the whole time, so I don't take it easy on myself, and I don't put these videos out in any kind or sense of ego or thinking I'm better than or holier thou or more enlightened than. I've just done the journey. I've gone through, like where other people are at in their journeys. I sped through it. And I've been like this my whole life. I mean, everything I've ever done in my whole life, just everything. Everything. I've always been in managerial positions. I've always been in charge of people. I've always been the group leader throughout my whole life. And just taking the military, for example, it's called fast tracking in the military. As soon as I joined the military, I was put in leadership positions and I fast tracked. Like what normally takes people a certain amount of time, or like in war times, they'll fast track, the people they see that have these abilities, and they'll fast track them through the ranks to get them in these higher positions. That way, because they need people to lead. And that's just always where I've been in my whole life. My whole life. It's always been like that. Always. Always. Anywhere I've ever gone. Anywhere I've ever gone. Anything I've ever done. Any occupation. Anything. And it's even when I've wanted, because that is a huge responsibility and it's stressful. And, it would be so nice. I think about it now sometimes. I actually allow myself to think about, man, imagine not being in that position, But right now, I understand the dire need. And like I said, I'm not trying to build anything through this YouTube channel. I have the community, the community that we need is right here, this dozen people. And if I can't help further this dozen people in their journeys, who cares if I'm talking to 1,000? All that would do is build my ego. If I can barely handle and just keep up with myself in my own journey with, assisting others in their journey in just the dozen that I'm working with here, then why would I want one more person listening to my videos, right? If I am failing at opening doors and exposing egos and exposing your guys' own barriers and justifications and excuses that you're making, then why would I think that adding 10 more people, 15, another 20 people would do anybody any good? So, again, my email is richardswink@icloud.com. I am here to personally help those who are not comfortable putting their shit out there on these comment sections. You can reach out to me anytime. But just to be clear, I'm not coddling anybody. I don't coddle. I listen, I take it in, and because of my vast awareness and openness and ability to see through things, I am able to, just through honesty and authenticity, give this gift of shedding a light and exposing, other people's things that are holding them back, because I know how easy it is to fall into justifications and excuses and stagnate our journeys. And it all comes out of love. And I know several of you get this completely. I know, because you guys have understood. I understand that you understand what I'm saying. It's just for myself, I had to get this video out there, because, it's very difficult, man. It's very difficult, especially these personal people around me who I've known, for pretty much my whole life. These personal people around me that I'm dealing with, it's like, man, because I know the trials I know the trauma and abuse, the extensive trauma and abuse. But at the same time, I have this, because I've cleaned out so much, I can literally see when I'm speaking to somebody, or I'm texting somebody, or I'm typing to somebody, I can literally see their inner child, the beautiful, pure, innocent, powerful inner child within them. And to see that hurt by their excuses and justifications and refusals and wanting to just find a reason to stagnate or sit where they're at, it's so hurting to this soul, to to this soul, to this divinity that I am and that you are, and that we share in together, and it, because I see that hurt and I want that light to shine. Again, just coming back to the simplicity of it all. Ever since I started this journey, I'm like, wow, man, this is so like Power Rangers, that cartoon or whatever it was. It wasn't a cartoon, it was like a live action thing back in the day, like in the 90s. The Power Rangers, they each had their abilities and they would come together and be able to make this powerful force, energetic force that was able to conquer anything. And that's what I see. I see us as that. I see the dirty dozen of us, the empathic dozen that we are. I see us as that. And I see the blocks that are being held for each individual to be able to express that and embrace that and fully integrate that. And it's frustrating, it's frustrating knowing what people hold within, but that indoctrination programming and trauma and abuse, unfaced trauma and abuse, that's holding them back. And it's just, it's a having to still work on myself constantly, to be fully aware of my journey to now, and therefore having patience, empathy, compassion, love, understanding, and forgiveness for myself and for everybody else. But I am fully aware of the ego and how if you give it an inch, it will take something that it could do literally within a week to start healing. It could take another 2 years and have every justification of why it takes another 2 years. And in that 2 years, just continue to toxify and to break down and to kill this vessel, this temple, our temple for the divine, And so yeah, I'm just still working on deepening that patience and empathy, and not the empathy, but the patience. Really, the patience is the one I'm really working on. Is the patience, but it's like you can only go around in those circles so many times before it's just like it's a waste of my time. I'm not doing it. My time, energy, and attention, which is my money. That's what I used to value money. Now I value my time, energy, and attention instead of money, right? And so, I value it so much, but I'm so willing, I'll give all of it for the right purpose, but if I see it's being used to just go around in circles, give the ego's justification to just extend out something that could be done in a very short, guys, I did this in 4 years. 4 years. And in that 4 years, at the beginning of that 4 years, I had suffered another in the long line of dozens in my life of traumatic brain injuries and spinal cord and neck injuries. So not only did in that 4 years did I come through all of that in my journey, but all of the emotional, the spiritual, and the mental healing as well. So I know how quickly and I had to figure it all out on my own. Nobody was feeding me any of this. I had to figure it all out on my own. In 4 years, I did this. 4 years. I got from hell. I saved myself from hell. And I know that everybody can do it. If I can do it in 4 years, I know sure as hell anybody can do it in 4 years. Especially if you are being given and shown the light on the things to work on and given the modalities and the ways to fix them and work on them and heal them. And I still haven't even done a child work video yet. I still haven't done the compassion key video yet. And these are huge modalities. These are huge breakthrough modalities. But man, until you have stirred up enough courage to start addressing your inner child, you're all these other modalities, you're really just spinning in circles. It's just like shining the surface of something, or putting a coat of paint on rotten wood. You're not replacing the wood. That paint is just going to peel up in 2 years, and then you're going to be back stripping the paint and putting a new coating over it. Putting a new mask on it, instead of getting down to the root of the problem. And that's what my whole thing is. I realize if you're just going to surface coat shit and think that you're going to still sit on the fence and hold two conflicting truths and all of this, it just isn't going to work, And anyways, so yeah, I just wanted to get this video out there and get it out of me. And, again, with all my videos, with the intention of it shining the light for those when they need to hear it. So I love y'all. I love myself, and I love y'all deeply. And don't forget, guys, you got to take care of yourself, because nobody else will.